I'm Deborah Borchardt, and this is your midday market update. When we look at the indices in the midday, all of them are pointing higher. So far today, we've got a good turnout. However, when we look at some of the economic data, not quite as stellar. And joining me now is Keith Bliss from Cuttone. So Keith, we saw the consumer confidence numbers come in a little disappointing. We also got some housing data. And, we were just talking, and a lot of people were talking about this housing sector and where we're going, what direction, because we're getting a little bit of a mixed signal at this point, right?
Well, we are. Some of the data has been mixed. Accordingly, the new home sales number last week was weak. It was below 400,000 on an annual rate. We've not seen that for some time. The existing home sales data continues to trend lower, which also is not a good sign. And also the inventory of new homes has gone up. So it appears that weather-related may be a part of it, but it also appears that there's an affordability issue that's now creeping into the market writ large across the United States, as well as credit is still fairly tight for all but the best borrowers. So the last 18 months, we probably moved through it from a sales standpoint. We've gotten all the best borrowers into new homes or existing homes. They've now been cleaned out. So we're at an interesting equilibrium point inside of the housing market. Where do we go from here? Will credit loosen up a little bit and allow some of the questionable borrowers to get into homes? Will the prices stabilize, if not even come down, as builders try to unload some of their inventory? And existing home buyers who want to move to a different location, they now have to adjust their selling price. We're going to have to see that in the next few months.
Well, certainly we feel that this low-hanging fruit has been picked on the housing side. I know that a lot of the housing-related companies are starting to turn in some kind of weak numbers, like lumber liquidators, people like that. So at this point, there are markets, though, that have reported very high prices. There are markets that have reported they still have low inventory. So it feels like we can't, every time we average these numbers, we don't really get an accurate picture. But if you look regionally, you do get some interesting data.
You do, and that's one of the main points underneath the housing market that people forget. A lot of the housing market, especially regionally, will wax and wane depending upon the mobility of the people coming into those environments. Now, if the U.S. worker has that type of mobility, if they're able to relocate to different regions because of jobs or maybe because of retirement, then you'll see pickup across the country. We're still not seeing that type of mobility yet with the U.S. Employee. We think we'll see that somewhat in the latter spring and in the summer. Summer of 2014 should be different. If the validity of the economic recovery is there, we should see some mobility as people get through the school season and then they want to move on to other jobs. But again, these are all question marks that we'll have to wait and see on it. Now, one good piece of data around the housing market that we did get today was the pending home sales index, which is a leading indicator. So what the National Association of Realtors do is they track contracts that have been signed, not closed, but contracts that have been signed. They could fall through for any number of reasons, but that index has picked up and is at a nice, healthy level. So we should see the fruits of that. We should see that start to bear fruit 2 or 3 months down the road. So again, it's a bit of a news at 11 story with housing because of the mixed data bag that we've gotten. But look in the end of May, look into June. If those numbers pick up substantially, then we'll have more confidence about the housing recovery is continuing to go. And that would be a good time to look at, you're right, housing type stocks who provide goods, raw materials for home building, as well as the home builders themselves.
All right, so there you have it. It's a bit of a mixed bag, kind of tending to the negativity on the housing data that we're getting today, although stocks are ignoring all that because they're moving higher. That's Keith Bliss from Cuttone, and I'm Deborah Borchardt with The Street.